What are you becoming through the way that you live your life every day? Think about this. This book right here is not just about doing more, but it's about becoming more. You are not a product of your circumstances. You're a product of the decisions that you make daily, right? Life is going to happen. There are some things that will be out of your control. One of the greatest power that you have as a person is the ability to choose your own response to whatever is happening to you. A lot of people want to change their life conditions, but they are waiting for the environment to change first. Highly effective people understand that change often begins with a sense of personal responsibility. It is totally difficult to live a life effectively without vision, without knowing where you're headed to. Life should be lived by design. You can't live life by default. Listening is one of the greatest skills that you can have as a person because it truly changes everything. What do you really want to become, right? What do you want your life to stand for? What kind of legacy are you building? So you're not just drifting into the future, you're designing it. Hello, and you're welcome back to the Inside Zone podcast with Kenny Adeleke. My name is Kenny, and you're listening to the Inside Zone. This is the podcast where we share insight that foster growth and leadership. And if you've been listening to this podcast so far, I want to say a very big thank you for always listening. But one thing I have noticed is people listen to this podcast, but I cannot see it in the number of people that are subscribing. And so if you're doing me a little favor by just going to click on the subscribe button on this page, I'll really appreciate it. And if you're listening to us for the very first time, this is the Inside Zone. We share insight that foster growth and leadership. And on today's episode, I basically want to talk about the 7 habits of highly effective people. You know, there are books that you read, and there are books that basically read you. And when I first of all picked up this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, I thought I was going to learn about productivity, but I did not know I was going to learn about leadership, how I see myself, and how I see life. Because this book right here is not just about basically doing more, but it's about becoming more. And so on today's episode of the Inside Zone, I want to walk you through the 7 habits that are in this book and how they can basically transform the way you lead yourself and the way you lead others. And the first habit in this book is you must be proactive. What does that mean? It means that you take responsibility for whatever life throws at you. Basically, because one of the most life-changing ideas in this book is that you are not a product of your circumstances. You're a product of the decisions that you make daily, right? Life is going to happen. There are some things that will be out of your control. But what about the things that you can control? People are going to disappoint you. Circumstances is going to shift, right? You're going to have challenges in life. But one of the greatest power that you have as a person is the ability to choose your own response to whatever is happening to you. And so being proactive simply means that you stop living at the mercy of your moods, right? The way you feel, your people's opinion, or your environmental condition. You stop blaming everything around you and everyone around you, and you start asking yourself basically, what can I do from here, right? This lesson is powerful because a lot of people want change, but they are waiting for the environment to change first. And I remember that I went for a training in Durban when I was still living in a country in the southern part of Africa. And in that training, the trainer basically used to emphasize something. What it says repeatedly is take responsibility for your future. Take responsibility for your life, right? And it's so powerful because a lot of people want to change their life conditions, but they are waiting for the environment to change first. But here's the difference between people that basically do change and people that remain stagnant is highly effective people understand that change often begins with a sense of personal responsibility. And sometimes the most important move you can make is not even your environment, first of all, but it's changing what is the response that is going on inside me, changing my own inner conditions, first of all. And so being proactive means that you don't blame anybody for whatever is happening to you. You don't complain about things that are out of your control. You don't wait enough for people to come and help you act, but you act, right? And there's always a space between what happens to you and how you respond. And in that space lies your own power to basically take responsibility. So you got to be proactive. The second habit in this book is you must begin with the end in mind. I so much love this habit. Why? Because I believe that vision is everything. And this basically hits me deeply, in leadership and in life, basically, because I realized that if you don't define your life, life will define it for you, right? Life will define it for you. And I've come to realize that it is totally difficult to live a life effectively without vision, without knowing where you're headed to. And, I read Miles Monroe's book, The Power of Vision, and it basically made me realize how everyone can be drifting. People can be drifting without knowing it. And so if you don't define where you are going, you're going to drift into a place that you never intentionally chose to go. It's just like driving. How can you be driving when you don't know your end destination? You don't know where you're going. You might not know, basically, there are different routes whereby you used to get to that place, but you must be very clear on where you're going. And so one of the strongest messages in this habit is that life should be lived by design. You can't live life by default, right? And it made me begin to think about my identity, my purpose, and what kind of legacy I want to leave, right? What kind of person am I becoming? What do I basically want my own life to stand for? What do I want people to remember when they think about how I lived? And so beginning with the end in mind means that you just don't wake up and react to life, but you build your life from conviction. You let your vision drive the decisions that you make. Vision basically make you to be more disciplined in what you're doing. And a lot of confusion in life comes from movement without direction. But what vision will help you to do is that it will help you organize your life around what truly matters. And in the book, Stephen Covey basically taught us to live with intentional vision and start asking yourself questions like, what do you really want to become, right? What do you want your life to stand for? What kind of legacy are you building? So you're not just drifting into the future. You're designing it. You have a design. You know where you're going, right? And the third one in this book is you must put first thing first. Discipline is destiny, right? Because it is not enough for you to have vision, right? You must basically align your daily actions with it. And many people are active, but they are not advancing. What is basically happening there? It is because they are full of a lot of motions, but they are empty of progress. And why is that? Because people most times gives their best energy to urgent things instead of important things. And I remember learning about this time management principle called the Eisenhower matrix, about what is important, what is urgent, what is important, what is not urgent, what is urgent, what is important, and what is not important, and what is not urgent. So basically, you can prioritize your life because the quality of what you will become in life, oftentimes, to be honest, is based off how you basically use your time, how you basically prioritize your life. And so putting first thing first means that you have the discipline to give time to what truly matters, right? Instead of just reacting to every situation that come your way. And so every great leader that you see, they have the ability to prioritize what really matters. And so you must know when to say yes to things and you must know when to say no to distractions. Because our life is always moving in the direction of our priorities, of the decisions that we make daily. And so we need to ask ourselves this question, basically, that are our daily actions, are they aligned with our highest values? Now, the fourth one is you must basically think win-win, right? Begin to think win-win, because you must start to think about abundance. And that's a major lesson in this book, that healthy success in life should not come at the expense of other people. Shouldn't come at the detriment of trying to put other people down. And so many people operate from this mindset of scarcity, basically. But if you really want to win, you have to win with people. When you win alone, the win for me is not fulfilling. But when you win with people, then you're thinking win-win. And so win-win thinking is when you're rooted in your own conviction, you're matured enough, and you have the ability to partner and collaborate with people so that there can be a greater outcome of whatever value you're trying to create. And so this habit has basically challenged me that you must have a mindset that look to collaborate with people instead of trying to dominate people, right? And so some of the best leaders that I know basically are people that know how to create an environment where other people can thrive. And that is why you must begin to think win-win. Look at how you can basically collaborate with people and create value with people instead of just trying to get all the gains by yourself. Build long-term relationship with people instead of trying to think about the short-term wins that you are going to get. Number 5 is seek first to understand. Seek first to understand, basically, right? Communication is power. This habit has basically reminded me that communication is not just about speaking well. It's also about listening and understanding deeply. A lot of people, most times, they listen because they want to respond. But you should listen with the intention to truly understand what the other person is saying. And this difference is what changes the dynamics in a lot of relationship, in leadership, in teamwork, and how you even build influence, right? So it's important that in a world where everybody wants to be heard, make yourself a different person. Distinguish yourself by listening to understand what other people are saying, trying to gain other people's perspective and emotions. And so listening is one of the greatest skills that you can have as a person, because it truly changes everything. When people notice that you are truly listening to them, they value your time. They understand that you value them. And it tells people that they matter enough for you to hear them, right? Even if you want to correct someone, I think you should first of all listen to basically understand. And communication is built on empathy, the ability to listen without judging and trying to put yourself in the shoes of that person. And so that's very powerful. Number 6 is basically you must synergize. Greatness, oftentimes, they happen together. And what is synergy? Synergy is the idea when people bring their different strengths, they have different perspective and experience, and they bring it together in the right spirit, and they can create something better than just one person can actually do. And it's a beautiful lesson in this book because it makes me to understand the essence of celebrating the difference in people rather than trying to fear it. And so synergy teaches me that I can disagree with you and you're not a threat to me. And so you having a different viewpoint from me doesn't mean it's a problem. But when I handle it with humility and when I try to look at it from the point that I might have a blind spot and I don't allow my ego to get ahead of me, this synergy can basically produce stronger ideas, better solutions, and deeper growth for probably your organization, your team, or for you as a person. Many people want unity, but we shouldn't confuse unity with sameness, right? Synergy teaches me that strength is not just in everybody thinking the same way, but it's learning how to work together despite the differences that we have. And so some of the biggest breakthroughs that we see in life, in science and technology, it happens when people stop trying to protect their ego, and they humble themselves to start building with other people. And the last habit in this book is you must sharpen your saw. You must sharpen your saw. Because you cannot keep giving effectively if you are not renewing yourself intentionally. I'll repeat it. You cannot keep giving effectively if you're not renewing yourself intentionally. And this last habit about sharpening your saw, it means that you need time to reflect, to learn, to renew, to rest, right? To take care of yourself, to grow in simple terms. Because as a leader, one of the things that you must constantly keep doing is you keep learning, because you must always stay ahead to know so that you can remain effective. A lot of people I have seen want long-term impact, right? You want to make impact for a very long time. When you look at the lives of people that are making impact for a very long time, they are teachable. They keep sharpening the saw. They are not neglecting their long-term, continuous, professional, and spiritual development, right? Because if you keep pouring and pouring and pouring and you're not renewing and renewing, you're going to become drained. And so sharpening the saw for me is that reminder that your growth is not selfish, because if you want to help other people, you must also keep growing. Now, rest too is not weakness. If you really want to basically sharpen your saw, rest is important. They are part of the sustainability that you all need. And so if you want to lead for a very long time, if you want to serve for a very long time, if you want to build for a very long time and remain useful for a very long time, right, you must develop this habit of renewing yourself, because you cannot become effective by burning out. You only become effective by staying sharpened. And we've spoken about today the 7 habits that are in this book, the 7 habits of highly effective people. I really want you to read this book, because I'm not going to lie to you. It really did something in me, and it has really helped me to become highly effective. And I try to integrate this 7 habits into my life daily. And if I can summarize everything that I learned in this book, it will be that effectiveness is not about hacks, but it's about building habits. And habits are a reflection of who you are as a person, right? And so you must basically try to integrate the 7 habits in this book. The first habit is that you must be proactive. Take responsibility for your life. The second one is that you must begin with the end in mind. Always live with vision. Always live with vision. Begin with the end in mind. The third one is that you must put first thing first. Prioritize what basically matter over things that are trivial. And the fourth one is you must think win-win. Always think win-win. Always think win-win. Then you must be able to communicate effectively. Then you must be able to synergize. And at the end of the day, you must always sharpen yourself, renew yourself consistently. Renew yourself consistently. And that is the end of the Inside Zone podcast today. I just wanted to share with you the book that I've been reading. And I guess the real question that I have for all of us is, what are you becoming through the way that you live your life every day? Think about this. Think about this. And I want you to basically share this episode with your friends, with your family. Subscribe to the Inside Zone podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify, Amazon Podcast. We're also on YouTube. You can watch this video or listen through this other audio podcast platform. And if this episode has basically challenged you and you want to take your life to the next level, you want to start living effectively, just apply one of these habits today. Apply one of its habits today, because I believe that habits are best implemented in our life when we start small. And so apply one of the habits today. Look at how it can basically change something in you. And we've come to the end. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Inside Zone podcast. On the same time, I remain Kenny Adeleke. Stay blessed.